Welcome to Swiftly Spoken, a fan-made Taylor Swift podcast in which we break down her lyrics, deep dive into full album retrospectives, and theorise about what may be coming next. We are your hosts, Lisa and Cameron, and this week we're going to be recapping everything we know about the Tortured Poets department, including the newly revealed versions and the details Taylor has let slip during the Eras tour. So right now we're kind of in limbo as we wait for Taylor's 11th studio album, The Tortured Poets Department, which by the time this episode comes out, it will be just under a month away, which doesn't seem like a long time, but at the same time, the suspense is now absolutely killing me.
I know, it's weird, like, because with like big machine releases we were spoilt really, because we always had like a lead single and like potentially a couple of promo singles and stuff, and then obviously then even with Lover we had the same thing, and then Folklore Evermore, it just came out. There was not enough time to really comprehend that an album was actually coming. You know, it was like 12 hours later the thing was out. And then obviously with kind of Midnights and stuff, everything that's kind of followed since, it's been a bit more of like a slow burn in terms of like waiting for it all and then it all happens at once. So it's quite weird in this weird stage of like, we don't know really anything about the sound at the moment. All we can kind of grasp is just the track list and photo shoot really, and it's all up in the air.
Exactly, and that's what we're here really to go over, everything we know about the track list, the photo shoot, the versions, and what we can kind of, a little rumour roundup of everything that's been going around and what we can glean from that, the information that we can get from that. But it is interesting that you noted that we haven't had a lead single basically since, well, a proper one, I guess, since
Lover really.
We can't really count Love Story too much because it was already a song that we already did have. It was a re-recording. So that's crazy to think, since Lover we haven't had a proper lead single. I would like one at some point in the future, maybe.
I would like a traditional album rollout. I think they're quite exciting. Lots of artists still do them.
Oh yeah, definitely. And you do have this one piece of music that you can kind of break down and you can like obsess over a little bit. It usually does come with an MV as well, so you can break that down as well. I don't know, maybe Taylor really had a bad experience with me and ever since has been like, right, I'm not choosing anymore.
I'll just drop the whole lot, and then we'll have, because even when they do kind of pick a single, like even with 1989 Taylor's version, weirdly it looked like they were pushing Slut originally, but then and then obviously that was kind of overtaken by like, Is It Over Now? So even then it was kind of like, oh, that was probably the wrong one, which I did think was a bit, when you listen to that Vault, that was not the one I would have picked out as let's push this one to radio
to represent like the album as a whole and the re-recording and the Vault in specific. I definitely would have also perhaps gone with Is It Over Now, or even Now That We Don't Talk. Before I would have picked out Slut, but I guess the name was quite kind of a baity kind of name, so perhaps that's why they wanted to go for it. And then in terms of Midnights, which is obviously our most recent actual studio album, it was also interesting because obviously she had Anti-Hero lined up to be like the representation of Midnights, because obviously we had the MV. I guess she could have recorded the other MVs. We know that she recorded them at around the same time-ish, but she did pick out Anti-Hero, and I always wonder like why she didn't release Anti-Hero just like a couple of weeks before the album or something. I mean, I don't get me wrong, I quite like having a whole album together. I do like that as well, because it kind of gives you the whole story all at once. There's no misconstruing things, there's no thinking, oh, it's all going to sound like me, so I'm not going to like it, or it's all going to sound like we are never getting back together.
I think it is a very good marketing ploy as well, because no one knows what it's going to sound like, so you can't really, until people listen and therefore have given you streams or purchase, they can't be like, turn their nose up to it and be like, I'm not listening to that, I don't like that song. So it's almost like everyone has to listen to find out what it does sound like, what she does say, so I guess it's quite a clever way of going about it, and it does, and like you said, I do quite like that it does mean you have the whole album to digest, because often with like when you've got a lead single and promo singles, when the album does come out, when you listen to the album and you get to the lead single, you're like, I've had this for a month, skip, know?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's
so
true.
It's quite good, I suppose, to get it all as it is and listen to it as it's meant to be and in the order. So it has its positives and negatives, but it doesn't mean that there's just so much like up in the air, and it does build this tension of like, oh my God, what are we about to let ourselves in for?
That is true. So you can also let us know in the comments, do you prefer having a lead single, or do you like it when everything is just a complete mystery? I guess the first thing we can do is talk about the version. So last time we spoke about the Tortured Poets department, we only had one version revealed to us, which is like the standard, I guess, the version which is being called the Manuscript, and we both did kind of say, it looks like, file name, it looks like there's going to be other files, and as Taylor so often does, we have different variants. interesting approach to it, as each one are being classified as files. Again, it looks very like evidence-y, like this is the evidence, the information on each one of these albums. And each album has quite a different kind of aesthetic to it. Obviously, it all falls under one encompassing, very distraught aesthetic, but a bit like Midnight's, to be honest. I do feel like, you know, that bingo card that we had, one of them was like Midnight's and the Tortured Poets Department are kind of like sister albums, and in many ways I do see that. Like, this is just like,
yes,
I'm still awake at midnight and I've been through it all, and here I am, you know, in different stages of being tortured. So I don't know, how are you feeling with the aesthetic that she's kind of presenting to us now that we've got like a few more photos from the photo shoot?
Yeah, no, I am liking it, to be fair. Like, initially from that kind of first cover, it wasn't really revealing a lot, and initially I felt like the cover was slightly similar to Midnight's with the kind of like white background.
Right, yeah, I remember.
Initially I wasn't sure about it. I was like, oh, what's she kind of going for? But now that we've kind of got this whole poet thing and she's really pushed that kind of like sepia toned aesthetic, I'm really kind of vibing with that, and I think that it's really going to enhance the sound. I think it's going to reflect that quite well from what is being revealed, and you know, what the little information we do know. So I'm definitely liking it at the moment. I think you never really know until you kind of hear it and be like, yeah, that's, and then you can start to associate it with that color scheme, with that photo shoot. And at the moment, yeah, I'm liking it so far. It's quite simple, you know. It seems like quite a, not basic, but quite a simplistic photo shoot. You know, it's not like Speak Now or anything very like theatrical, Midnight's was, you know, very aesthetic with the whole 70s look. It seems very stripped back, white, sepia tone,
very intimate. I think the word I'm looking for is it's very like, you know, she's in a bed, she's on a beach, but it's all very like, it's you and me here together, very solitary, very intimate, I think, and very tortured, of course, especially that last version.
Yes.
Before we speak a bit more about that color scheme and what it has given rise to, the monster it's created,
oh my gosh,
I think we can discuss the full versions. So the first one is obviously one that we have previously gone through, the manuscript. With each of these versions, something I love is that we've got little snippets of lyrics, which, well, we're guessing they're lyrics, and I guess they are lyrics, but I love that. From the manuscript, we already discussed this one, but I Love You is ruining my life. When she announced the Tortured Poets Department, she did so at the Grammys. However, as she embarked on the next leg of the Eras tour at Tokyo, the first night there, she did say that if she hadn't had been able to announce it at the Grammys, she would have announced the album at Tokyo. And then she played two surprise songs, and honestly, they make so much sense, like, to be planned around the announcement of this particular album. She played Dear Reader and Holy Ground.
Yeah, those two just like couldn't be more like perfect. I really wish, even though it was fun at the Grammys, and obviously it was like amazing, you know, she won like pop vocal album of the year, like it was nuts, but I really kind of wish that maybe she had held out till Tokyo, because I think these would have been such cool songs to have alongside the announcement, because obviously both mention poetry, literature and books, and also maybe give a hint into what to expect. Like, Taylor clearly chose these songs for a reason.
I love
they weren't
this
just,
choice.
I'm just going to play these two random ones.
No, she sat down and she thought about it, and that makes me really believe that she did have it planned for, you know, Tokyo was like the initial plan, but if everything went well at the Grammys, she got that 13th Grammy then there. Yeah, I agree with you. In a way, I would have kind of loved it at the Eras tour as well, because it is, like, again, a very, very fan-based moment, so that would have been cool as well. But either way, she made it clear that what she would have done, and because of that, we can read into these two songs a bit more. Very interesting how Dear Reader is, like, it was for a long time until You're Losing Me was released, the last song that we had on Midnight's. Very interesting there.
Yes.
And then Holy Ground, obviously, mentioning you fit my poems like a perfect rhyme. The story's got dust on every page.
Dust on every page, yeah.
Interesting as well. Are we gonna, I guess that makes me think, again, very Midnight-esque, like digging up kind of like moments, going back through them. The story's got dust in every page, but I'm gonna go over it. We're going to re-enter a moment in life and kind of like analyze it. I don't know, maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I love that choice. The next version that Taylor mentioned is the version that includes the song The Bolter. And alongside The Bolter, we have the image of the back of the CD, and the lyrics that it contains are, "You don't get to tell me about sad." So this one is a bit with these sassier, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. And with these lyrics, do you think that these are lyrics from the
song, like on the
bonus track as such?
I had thought about that, and I wasn't really sure, but I do think so, because it would make the most sense, right? But at the same time, I'm not sure. Maybe it's just a general lyric, but it would make the most sense if each one is from its respective version exclusive song. So, you know, this one is from the bolter, which the bolter, again, someone who bolts is someone who like runs away. It's emblem. Oh, also another thing I'm loving are these emblems. They're little patches that come with each of these versions, these special versions that she's releasing. The manuscript had like a quill. The bolter has a hare or a rabbit. It looks like a hare, I think, bolting away, running away. So very interesting detail to add there. And the songs that she then sang in Melbourne when she announced this version were Red and You're Losing Me. I think the key one here is, of course, You're Losing Me.
You're Losing Me. Yeah. What's interesting, though, is both the manuscript and the bolter were both announced. Well, manuscript not so much so, but, you know, the night that she was supposed to, were both announced technically alongside a Midnights and Red song.
Yes.
I'm not sure if that is potential hint as well at the sound.
That's so interesting. That's such a good thing to point out. Interesting, yes.
And Red obviously has like losing him was blue like I'd never known. So there's an element of kind of losing, and obviously the relationship, like, you know, like Maserati down a dead end street, like it had to come, it came to an end. So I think these two not only were an incredible surprise songs, like I would have literally collapsed if I'd heard these two live. But I think also they do help with the world she's kind of building, with the photo shoot, the songs, the titles, everything so far. I think they all kind of fit into that theme.
Definitely, honestly, I do think that especially these 4 ones, like these 4 nights that she kind of like announced the versions, or in the case of Tokyo didn't, but, you know, did. They are kind of serving as the lead single of the era, if you get what I mean. Like, we haven't got any music, but at the same time, we're really getting a lot of information as to what this album is going to be like. It's, you know, it's going to be quite revealing, in my opinion. And we'll get into the quote that she said that basically confirms that in a minute. Yeah. Next up, we have the third version, which is called The Albatross. And with The Albatross, we had the lyric, "Am I allowed to cry?" Again, she's going from like very, very sad and distraught to angrier, in my opinion. Like, am I allowed to cry?
Yes, I think you're right there, yeah. Because I think, I wasn't sure if it was like, I was taking it from more of the sad side of like, oh, like, will you even let me cry? But in like a kind of quite like emotional sense of like...
Okay, so I
don't know, like emotional manipulative sense, whereas I suppose you were seeing it from like, am I even, you know, like almost like a, what's the word, like confrontational way.
Yeah, like an accusation, like, am I even allowed to cry? Like, you've let me drive emotion, let's say. I don't know, either way it goes is horrible, to be honest. But she announced this one on Sydney night 1, and this one is kind of strange because obviously we had a performance with Sabrina Carpenter, because Sabrina wasn't able to play her set. She wasn't able to be the opener because of the weather. So I don't know if things might have been a bit shifted because of that. So I'm not sure how much we can read into these particular surprise songs. But either way, she played How You Get the Girl, and then she played White Horse and Coney Island with Sabrina. So again, this one kind of like departs a little bit from the standard of the Red Midnights that you picked up on. And I don't see the connection that much when we kind of like...
To be fair,
I don't know.
I kind of do with how you get the girl. It's like that because it's obviously about like a breakup and basically someone coming back and being like, look, this is how you get back with her.
Right.
Like, just do this. Like, what are you doing? You know, basically, which I suppose is similar to like You're Losing Me. It's kind of like, you're losing me. Like, what the hell are you doing? Like,
okay,
all you have to do is just say something, do something. You know.
Okay.
And then White Horse,
okay.
obviously, is White Horse is kind of losing someone as well. Like, I'm not the prince. You know, I'm not a princess.
It's too late
a fairy
now.
tale. You know, like the break.
I can
too
get
late.
into this. Yeah, and then Coney Island. Oh.
It's very similar, yeah. So I feel like they do fit. And again, I'm not sure of White Horse because obviously Sabrina does love White Horse. It was like the first Taylor song I believe she learned to play on guitar. So I'm not sure if maybe she was factored in to that. But I feel like that decision would be way too late. I feel like Taylor probably already knew what the surprise songs were and maybe just said to Sabrina, look, these are the surprise songs, let's learn them. Whereas I'm not sure if it would have been way too late for them to start trying to work out and rehearse.
I know, that's the only reason why I'm kind of like doubting a little bit about this one, because of the Sabrina inclusion and how quickly they may have had to adapt or not or whatever. And How You Get the Girl, I guess because it has like a happy ending really, in a way.
It's like kind of pop girly song, whereas all the others have been a bit more like, oh.
Exactly, so that's why it was kind of like confusing me. But I guess if you think about it that way, I mean, it's that easy. It's that easy, which is something that she's mentioned in her Betty speech before she sings Betty. She kind of like says, I have songs that kind of like explain, lay out, this is how easy it is to say sorry. This is how easy it is to get the girl. And perhaps, you know, she's alluding more to that's how easy it was and you couldn't even do that, you know? So I see what you're getting at. Yeah, definitely. Finally, the last version that she has revealed was on Singapore Night 2, and that version is the Black Dog. And thank God it was the last, to be honest with you. I'm glad that she clarified.
There was a sense of relief, yes, like relief from our bank accounts. Just like, okay, that's fine. Like when she said it, I think there was a universal worldwide, okay.
Yeah, a sigh of...
that's it. As cool as it is and as fun as it is,
definitely.
I love them.
But we don't want another folklore. I can't do it.
Yes, exactly. I was worried that we were dangerously getting close to, you know, a folklore situation.
So here's 11 versions. No. So anyway.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. My 11th album.
She announced the last version, which is called The Black Dog, and alongside it, again, we have some lyrics. Old habits die screaming. Very interesting imagery.
Probably my favourite.
Oh,
so
okay.
far of all of the like die screaming, like, you know, it's like, oh my god, what kind of, I just want to know what the context around that.
Okay,
you know?
so my favourite just of like lyrical content that she's given us is probably the Manuscript. I love you, it's ringing in my life.
Really?
It's all very dramatic.
That is a good one.
Either way, this is the last one she announced, and it was actually on night 2. So she did go live, or her account went live on night 1, and everyone was like waiting and ready for the announcement. However, she didn't announce anything. She just live streamed the piano surprise song, which was I Don't Want to Live Forever and Dress mashed up. So nothing was announced. We all clowned, I guess. We don't exactly know why, but we'll get into the number 2 of it all in a minute. Then on night 2, she again went live, and then eventually she did announce this last version. And then the songs that she sang were, because obviously now we're in mashup territory, which is an absolutely crazy addition,
which is dangerous. Yes. Yeah.
So she sang Long Story Short and The Story of Us, and then Clean and Evermore. Love these choices. Honestly, this is the date that I'm most jealous of out of all the ones that we've spoken about, to be honest with you.
To be fair, mine's probably Red and You Losing Me, but this is a good night. Like Clean and Evermore, that was a gorgeous
Evermore.
Like, they couldn't,
my beloved.
That was a big loss for you.
Oh,
yes.
Very big
and
loss
obviously
for me.
Speak Now track, because it's two Evermore songs and a Speak Now track.
But anyway, Long Story Short, interesting, and The Story of Us. I love that mashup. Again, we're talking about stories, literature, books.
Yes.
But Long Story Short. Yep. Long story short, is it not the story that, you know, we're getting caught up on the story before it's ending? The Story of Us.
Maybe, yes.
The end, you know.
Yes.
Oof, yeah. And then Clean and Evermore, the layers, what it could mean for this album is just, this is what I want for the album, to be honest with you. These 4 songs, the themes that are explored is what I want, honestly. Especially the Clean Evermore of it all, of like the healing as well as the hurting.
Yeah, I think also what's interesting is the night 1 ones. They, for me, obviously this isn't the night that she announced, but I do feel like they would have been quite random ones to announce it with. Mine and Starlight, these very like fun love songs. And maybe that might be a hint that potentially that is still a theme that's explored.
Okay.
I'm not sure, you never know. And obviously I Don't Want to Live Forever, which I actually really like that she kind of revisited that song, because the first time she sang it, you could hear you could see and hear the emotion when she was singing it. You know, like, wonder if I dodged a bullet or just lost the love of my life. Like her voice actually cracks when she sings it. So it was so nice to see her sing it quite powerfully. And Dress, again, quite random, because that is also a bit of a love song in a weird way. So it's interesting. I do think those would have been weird ones to announce it with if she had done that. I think it would have kind of thrown everyone off the scent, whereas the night 2 songs seem to match so far what the vibe that she's kind of establishing.
I guess so. We don't know why it happened this way. Maybe it will make more sense. Maybe it won't. Like that goddamn telephone being held up the other way around.
Oh, yeah, upside down. Yeah,
on the Midnight's Mayhem with me. We'll never know. It's I don't know. Sometimes she just does things. She's just out there doing things. So we have to bear that in mind. All of these songs could mean something. They could be giving us clues. It could just be nothing, to be honest with you, just random songs that she's singing. Either way, it's fun to analyse them, and honestly, if these are the themes, which, to be honest, it does seem pretty realistic to me that these could be the themes, then I'm very, very excited for the album. So we've also obviously got visuals from this album, as we said, and it kind of like moves from the sepia tones to like a clearer, whiter one to the complete black version that is the Black Dog. I guess a lot of us have seen this meme going around, but you know the meme of evil doesn't die, it is just reborn.
It reinvents itself, yes.
That's it, that's the one. So, and everyone's like going on about the lover house has now turned into this theory.
5 stages of depression or whatever.
Yeah, so
oh my
a lot of people
God.
are kind of like putting as like the white of Midnight going to like the darker shade of grey of each of these versions, and then going into eventually the black of the Black Dog. And it's like classifying it as denial, anger, acceptance, bargaining, depression, whatever. So how are you feeling about the stages of grief theory?
I think anyone that's listened to at least one of our episodes know my feelings towards the lover house, and they're very similar to this ridiculous theory, to be quite honest with you. Because originally, when it was first announced, I was like, okay, cool, if there's 5, potentially, you know, like I could maybe get behind it. So originally everyone was using the first manuscript version as like the denial one or whatever, the white one.
Yeah.
And then suddenly when there was 4, then Midnight's was shoved in.
Just chucked in
like,
Midnight's, yeah.
What? Like when Midnight's is an album that is about reflecting on 13 previous nights of her, you know what I mean? The way that Taylor's branded it has not been about her modern life. Obviously there are elements of it, but they're reflective. Yeah, you know,
I've also seen versions of this that includes Reputation. You know, I've seen a lot of variants, shall we say, of this.
Yeah, it's rubbish.
Yeah. No, I don't like to think of Midnight's as a denial album, because it's almost like people are trying to be in like, oh yeah, she's gaslighting herself through her own music. No, You're Losing Me is right there for a start. And even though she didn't include it originally, it's very difficult to share music as you're going through things. Like imagine sharing You're Losing Me and then like staying with that person forever. It's a bit awkward, isn't it? It's a bit like,
it would be really awkward. And even when she had to release like, what's it, All the Girls You Loved Before,
it's a bit awkward, yeah,
like not long after, like it must have been so awkward. But again, I feel like her hands were kind of forced there slightly. But and I feel like it doesn't give Taylor enough credit for how clever she is as a person, as a businesswoman, as a musician, as a songwriter. Like to basically be like, oh, she was she is way more intelligent than that. Give her more credit because she's due it.
No, I agree. I don't love this theory, and if you want to listen to a song that includes the 5 stages of grief, just listen to Happiness.
Yeah,
and that's
exactly.
that.
and maybe we might be totally wrong, and Taylor might come out. And I do think, obviously, yes, there is a clear colour progression. You would have to be blind to not see that. And clearly, there's a reason for that. And you know, each one does get more and more intense, like as you kind of look through it.
Definitely.
And I do think that is the case. But at the end of the day, the last one was actually called The Black Dog. So, like, it would be a bit stupid to give that the white cover, you know?
No, exactly.
A white cover.
It just makes sense.
And it's
aesthetically.
It's a marketing ploy. Like, all, like, Midnight's had the clock. 1989 had the, on the back, had the 1989 written across. This one is obviously a color, kind of like colour palette. You know, they all have something about them that makes them a collector's piece, and they fit together as a 4. I'm sure they'll sell the little vinyl stand again, or the CD stand, so you can display them. You know, like I think people look into things too deeply, but rant over.
Yeah, I mean,
I feel like I had to get that out.
I do feel like the grain of realism that comes out of this theory is that perhaps the themes that are being explored in each song do get darker. That would make sense to me.
Yes. 100%.
You know, it makes 100%. Sense. It makes sense. But either way, it's funny. Either way, it made me laugh when I saw it. And if people defend that theory or really get behind it, that's fine as well. It's all fun and games. There's no need to, you know, we're not angry at anyone because of it. we just don't partake in it. But then we partake in other silly theories, so there you go.
Exactly, yeah, we are just as silly as well. And I like when I thought that, you know, the year was still marked the end of the Lover House, it's just like, how are we still doing this? And then the thing that annoys me is what will then happen is a silly dumb fan theory would then actually become like law, like the Lover House, because that was a silly dumb fan theory. Like originally, yes, it was what it was,
just
and it
those
was representative
albums.
of all of the musical.
Makes sense. Yeah.
And then Folklore and Evermore obviously just somehow fitted those 2 little staircases.
That was just
like coincidentally.
Yeah.
And then it was like, oh, and the sky
Midnight's
outside
is the moon,
and the trees are Christmas tree farmers. Just like, oh my god,
stop,
right?
please.
Like, no, it's not.
I know.
So I think it's just more that I'm like, oh please. Hopefully Taylor Nation hasn't seen this,
right? Because they do like to jump onto things. Yeah, they do.
Yes.
And I think the next thing, and the most important thing really that we can get into, because it reveals quite a lot, is what she has said about this album. So she said that she's very excited for April 19th and she cannot wait for us to hear these songs. And on Melbourne Night 1, she really paused and took a moment to talk about what this album has meant to her. And I think these quotes are just, they were reposted by Taylor Nation because they really just present what this album is going to be. And it's very, very interesting to see these quotes and the parallels to Reputation.
Yes.
So Taylor said that this is an album that I think more than any of my albums I've ever made, I needed to make. It was really a lifeline to me. Just the things I was going through and the things I was writing about. It reminded me of why songwriting is something that actually gets me through my life. And I've never had an album where I needed songwriting more than I needed it for Tortured Poets. It was a life raft. It was a way, which she has said, to be fair, she has said about Folklore as well, and in extension Evermore, but very different situation. And she has said like Reputation was a lifeline for her. But again, if you think about it,
she needed to make that album.
Wow, that's actually kind of funny. If you think about it, the 3 albums that she said have been like rafts for her and lifelines for her are the 3 albums that, number 1, are black and white, and number 2 have occurred in moments of like really, really terrible things happening, like 2016, obviously the pandemic, and then obviously, well, what we can say is
long-term relationship.
Exactly, yeah. Interesting, definitely.
Very, very interesting. And I think what's really exciting with that is that I do think that this one's going to be quite lyrically heavy. I think that we are going to get something from just the aesthetic, what Taylor said, the fact that she said songwriting. She's really highlighted the fact that it was the songwriting and writing these songs. And I just think that these songs are going to be so, you know, like, I feel like that her heart's going to be on her, like, on her sleeve with this album. And
that's
like,
so brave.
It's just going to be so revealing. And yeah, I'm really, really excited. I cannot wait.
Very brave. And getting into that and the songwriting of it all, there's a tweet going around. So another rumour to recap, but there's a tweet going around which is fake, basically. We can already reveal that. But basically it's a review of the album, which it hasn't been reviewed yet, so it can't be real. But anyway, saying that the album is a combination of Red and Folklore. Even though it's not real, I think it's very interesting from what she said, from the aesthetic that she's portraying. I do really think that this album will be a combination of Red and Folklore, to be honest with you, and perhaps of Midnights in there.
Yes, I think so as well. I think it will be that kind of like, you know, that the phrase for Red, there's like what's it, broken heart, like a broken
patch.
Mosaic heart or whatever. That kind of idea of like these songs that are all kind of, you know, are so individual but all come together as one to tell this very specific story. And I think that is maybe hope. Like, I would love that. I'm a Red person through and through, you know what I mean? I love Red and Folklore as well. Like, I feel like it's going to be that storytelling element that is just going to be hopefully really rich in this album.
It would seem,
even though that isn't real, it's exciting nonetheless.
It would seem like storytelling but personal. That's how it means to say. And I think it's interesting. So a while back we made an episode in which we kind of like made a whole family tree of Taylor's albums, how they all relate to each other, how we see like the connections. It didn't have to be in chronological order. It was just like combinations of albums, how they come together to make a new album. If you haven't seen that, we'll link it for you. You can check that out because it sounds a bit strange when you just say it like that, but it made sense, we promise. And I can see this being kind of like a connection between like the parents, shall we say, of this album could easily become Red, Folklore, Midnights. That's how I'm seeing it at the moment.
Yes.
Okay, you agree.
That's
good,
the vibe
good.
I'm getting as well. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm definitely not seeing a bit of Lover or Debut in there at the moment.
Right. Because we haven't really spoken about that, like the genre of this album at all.
Yes.
Or if it's country leaning.
We have no idea really. I think that she's going to stick with pop, to be honest.
Right.
More
subdued, perhaps. Yeah.
Yes, more in the kind of Midnights, or maybe even some of the like Call It What You Want, Dancing with Our Hands Tied,
love that kind of sound,
or Delicate, that kind of Reputation sound. I feel like so far what I'm getting, and maybe an element still of Folklore, like August or things like that. Or I don't know. It's so hard, isn't it? I really don't know. But I think she's going to stick to pop. I don't think there's going to be a reversal to country or folk. I think that pop, but maybe more subdued, slightly Selena Gomez revival.
Okay,
you know, like
that's very
good for
specific.
you know, that kind of vibe. You know,
right?
Do you get what I mean? More sultry.
Yeah. Yes, I was about to say a bit like sensual, sultry kind of sounding. Because that again, the photo shoot is given a little bit of that, to be honest. So I get what you mean. I guess the last rumour we can get into, which is very strange, it's the number 2. It seems to be everywhere. People are picking up on it. I don't know if Taylor Nation are basically taking the piss out of us. Or
which they have done many a time.
They have.
Yeah, I'm not sure either if it's legitimate.
Yeah.
Or is a bit it's just like they're just feeding into it because it's gaining attention, which gains likes and
of course
engagement.
Yeah, people make
it's
videos
weird because Taylor does
theories. You know.
She did weirdly do a 2 when she kind of announced it,
I know.
and I'm not sure if that was just an awkward gesture of like, oh, you know,
like
like
a little
oh my god,
peace
I'm about to
sign,
announce
you know,
an
like,
album.
yeah,
like, and recently when she's been doing the like Midnight Rain like on TV thing, she's been doing it. But again, I'm not sure. I really don't know. Like, I'm not ruling it out. I'm not like saying that it's legit. I'm just kind of like, we'll see.
We're
what
just
happens.
mentioning
And
it.
Everyone's
we just have to mention it.
Everyone's either thinking of like a double album thing, like Folklore Evermore,
or
which terrifies me,
Yeah.
or they're thinking of Reputation.
Oh no.
Similar, but again, I just don't think Taylor would do that, like, because it would just annihilate chart success. Like, I just don't think so. I don't know. I really don't know. But it is weird, and
it's strange.
Yeah,
it's strange because why the number 2? Because like obviously 2 albums or whatever, but I just don't see her doing that right now.
No.
Simply because Reputation, again, she's let each of her re-recordings have a little moment, even if it was just like a week or 2, but it was a moment where there wasn't anything else going on. And in the year that she did release Midnights, no re-recordings were released.
Yes,
which makes sense. It makes sense. Obviously she could do whatever she likes. I don't know, a lot of number 2s. She's obviously is a peace sign as well, and she is a millennial, so but she has done it a few times now, and Taylor Nation keep emphasizing like, you've got 22 hours to shop.
Banging on about it.
There's 2 hours to go. It's the second day of blah, blah, blah. So, I don't know. I think it's probably just nothing in the end.
Yeah, as most of these things are.
But still, we wanted to mention it, and let us know if you have any good theories that you think the number 2 refers to. The only thing I can think, if there was to be a double album, and I know I've banged on about this idea before because I do love the idea of it, if we do ever get a double album, I just hope it's like the normal album and then acoustic covers of that album, like Kelsey and Ballerini, like Passenger does with most of his albums, where he like includes a deluxe album where he has like all of the acoustic covers of the original songs. I do love that. Or
even Folklore and Long Pond.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of
to be honest, we have already got it, so maybe I should stop. But if anything, that would be the only kind of double album. Because if not, I just feel like it's so much content. I mean, to be honest with you, when Midnights came out and then with 3 a.m. was announced, I was so overwhelmed by it all.
Oh, yeah, me too. Because it was like I'd barely listened to the standard album like twice. And then was like, oh my God, now it feels like another mini album. And I'm like,
it was,
like,
to be honest with you.
Yeah. It was like another like 6 or so songs, 8 songs or whatever. And then obviously we had Hits Different. And it was so it just felt like there was so much to kind of, get your head around, that it feels very overwhelming.
But however, we got into all of those songs either way, and they were all such a treat. And I can't imagine Midnights existing without songs like The Great War or Hits Different or like even You're Losing Me. They all should have. Exactly, yeah. Like there's Paris, Glitch, all of them. Maybe not Paris so much, but all of them.
I love Paris.
I know. They kind of come together and complete that album, and we do love to see the vaults, and Taylor is quite happy to show us like what she holds back as well. I know some people aren't very happy with that. They'd rather things be cut down, but
a bit more cutthroat with it.
You can always just listen to the standard version. You don't have to explore the rest if you don't want to, but exactly. I don't know, there's always hidden gems that I love to see, to be honest. So that concludes the logical portion of this episode. And now, even though that last one isn't that logical, to be honest, but we're going into AI territory now, so please take this just we're only mentioning it
not even a pinch of salt. But
it is still it's important to talk about because it's interesting, it's good for a laugh as well, and it also kind of clears the air that we don't partake in these things. I don't like what they do with songs and people's voices. It scares me, to be honest. However, there are AI songs going around which are deemed as leaks from this album. Cameron, would you want to take us through them? Because you sent them to me. Every time you send me a video, I'm scared now.
It's like, what on earth is about to come? So there was 2 that was initially leaked that was kind of, leaked, please take this in quotations, because obviously they're not leaked, they were made and released, where it sounded like people were talking over them. It almost sounded like someone was recording it from a phone and the song was being played out on a speaker or something. And that was obviously the Fortnite song with Post Malone, and that does actually sound quite cool. Like, whoever did that actually did a really good job.
And if that one is real in the end, we don't, obviously we don't want it to leak, but I wouldn't mind.
No, I do think that if it had have leaked, Taylor Nation would have shut that down.
Exactly, because
you know, like it would not have gone as viral.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And then we have the kind of the one that has the down bad lyrics. Again, it sounds very AI. It has that similar thing of people talking. I'm not sure what that's about. I think it's almost to make so that they can make the sound quality poorer, and therefore like it's harder to hear whether it's AI or not.
Exactly. When you can't hear the lyrics clearly or someone singing clearly, because there's just some words that get clipped and some syllables that sound strange. Definitely, yeah.
So I think that's probably what that is. And then the most atrocious of the three is the song, supposedly The Ring, which is the like Travie, you know, made it to the big game. Oh, one step closer to Kelsey being my last name. No. I don't know whoever the hell came up with that. Yeah, like they need to take credit for it and at least be like, yeah, I was the idiot that made that, you know.
Like
it's
own
just
up.
Bonkers. But
own up to your cringe.
That has been making the rounds on TikTok, like it's gone semi-viral, if not viral. But these obviously, especially The Ring, is definitely obviously not real.
No.
But I believe all three are not real.
Okay.
But it's still interesting that they kind of at the moment are the only thing that it's just interesting that these are what people.
So what you're saying is, I'm so glad my Travie made it to the big game is the lead single of the Tortured Poets Department. That's what you're saying,
imagine.
right?
Imagine. Yeah, as if.
Oh my god.
Oh my gosh, I know it just drives you mad. But it's interesting though, like the Fortnite one, for example. That's interesting that that's the sound that either AI or someone that made it, I don't know how it works.
Yeah.
It's the sound of Minter. And I do think that is probably that's the sound that I believe.
Right, and it makes sense with Post Malone as well. Like he's kind of like sonical journey, although again, as we mentioned last time, he's going into like country as well. So I don't know. Maybe this could be very, very country and acoustic when we get to it. I don't think so.
I'm definitely down for that.
But yeah, no, I'd be down.
So
yeah,
no
definitely.
complaints.
For sure.
But yeah, these are a load of rubbish, so obviously these are a big fat rumour.
And if this was real and they were leaks, don't spread it around either, because let's let Taylor have her moment. Either way, this is everything we know. These are all the rumours, the things that have been going around recently in the Taylor Swift world. We don't know much about the Tortured Poets Department, but we are very excited for it. Let us know which theory is your favourite, which version you're most excited for, which one you've purchased if you did make a purchase. We're both very excited, and as always, as soon as this album comes out, we'll be breaking everything down, looking at the lyrical parallels and going through every single song. Until then, we hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, you can give us a like over on YouTube. You can also rate us on Spotify or Apple Music. And if you want, you can also follow us over on Instagram. Our handle is @SwiftlySpokenPodcast.